This program is made possible through the generous support of the Foundation of the FBA, provided by its Community Outreach Grant Program, which empowers organizations to develop and support projects that make a lasting impact on their communities. To learn more about the Foundation of the FBA and how it supports programs like this, visit www.foundationofthefba.org.
Here we go. So as we start, people will keep rolling in. I know it's 5:31, but we'll get this thing going. We'll get the show started. Thank you all for being here again. Today is November 13th, 2025. This is our next installment of our webinar series. As always, Just Us Movement is a community-driven organization dedicated to empowering populations through legal advocacy, educational resources, and health initiatives. Our permission is to promote justice, equity, and public safety while advancing civil rights and creating pathways for individuals and communities to thrive. This next installment of our webinar series, Clearing Your Record, Expungement and Sealing of Criminal Records, is an amazing opportunity for us to invite impacted individuals, advocates, community organizations, and others to a step-by-step session on clearing criminal records in Massachusetts, and hopefully inspiring others. And our legal expert, Crispin Birnbaum, will explain who qualifies for expungement or sealing, what documents are needed, and how to begin the process. So you'll all learn how record sealing and clearing can open the doors to employment, housing, education, and things alike, while strengthening our community and reentry efforts. So I would love to pass it off to her so she can, introduce herself and explain to you all who she is, her background, and she's quite an amazing person. I've heard some amazing things
Yeah.
about her. So I would love to pass it on from here.
All right, and you'll keep letting people in if they arrive.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you, Zeno, for not only that lovely introduction, but for inviting me to join your group. Corey is a topic that is often misunderstood. People have misinformation about it or just a lack of knowledge as to how it works, how I can get out from under my record. So that's what we're going to do is in a tight 1 hour session. I'm going to share with you a lot of information. I do take questions as we go, so it's a pretty informal setup that way rather than just lecturing at you. I would like to make sure you're with me, that people have questions. We should not hold them to the end. So I'm going to use slides. Zeno can give you a copy of them afterwards, so you don't have to take copious notes right now. But if you want to, you certainly can. Let me see if I can make this full screen. My name is Crispin Birnbaum, and I am an attorney and an Access to Justice Fellow. And the fellowship that I'm part of, Access to Justice Fellows, is where you get to pick your own topic. So my topic is to work on helping people who have criminal records. So I'm going to mention some of the work I do as we go through. Part of it is staffing, training, mentoring, free clinics where you can get a free lawyer to help you with Corey sealing or expungement. We'll talk about where those are, but you have to stay to the end. So you'll get all that information at the end. And I will pause every couple slides to take questions. So let's jump in. Why are we here? Well, we want to know more about what the heck is a Corey. You've all heard the term, but if you've never seen it spelled out, it's CORI, stands for Criminal Offender Information, Record Information. And the Corey database, which is where your background checks are run through. Mine, everybody has a background check. If you go for a job or an apartment, they're doing a Corey check. And that database is a Massachusetts only database. If you have an arrest from Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, those charges are in their databases. They are not in ours. So our Corey system is a state-based system. Any charge you have from adult Massachusetts court is in the Corey. That means if you have a juvenile set of cases, those are separated. They are not in the Corey printout, and they are generally not available to very many people. So generally, when we talk Corey, we're talking about the adult Massachusetts record that you might have. What's not on the Corey when you get a copy of it? Any juvenile charges, you don't get those. Any out-of-state charges, you don't get those. If you have a case in federal criminal court, not on the Corey. And the beauty of sealing is that if you pay attention to these rules, if they fit your circumstance, if you come to one of the free clinics and get our help, then your sealed charges are no longer visible on your record. There's one exception that I'll share with you, of course. There's always an exception to the rule, but sealing hides access to the charge that got sealed. Very important tool or remedy for you to know about to help yourself. So the very first step all of you might want to take if you want to get out from under your record is get a copy of your record. It will be free to you if you go online and you are at low or no income. They will waive the registration fee. So where do you go? I've given you the website here in blue, and that is the state government website.
Chris, but
Matt.
it looks like the slides are stuck.
Oh, they are not advancing?
No,
Okay, I'm going to go out and screen share again. Tell me if you're on slide 2 now.
we're good now.
And 3, did you see 3?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Okay. So the website, I had that problem before.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we missed the second and third slide.
Yeah, I'm just finishing slide 2. So I think we're good to go if you see slide 2, Ron.
I can't, yes. And I have a quick question too. So I'm currently residing in North Carolina.
Mhm.
When I went online, I think this was I thought this was a North Carolina meeting. Is this specifically for Massachusetts or is it just in general or
Yeah, so I'll answer and then Zena, who's running the meeting, can answer. For me, I am only an expert in Massachusetts sealing and expungement, and every state has different rules. So
yeah,
there are
I'm a
some,
lot, yeah.
I was gonna say there's some concepts that are universal to the whole country, but there are some real significant differences. So you may want to Google the state where you have a record. How do I get a copy of my record and how do I seal my record in North Carolina?
I'd still like to stay and listen to the whole thing for sure, but I just want to be sure that I'm having a feeling most of the information you're going to give me is specific to the state. I thought I was in a North Carolina one, so I apologize for that.
That's okay. Zeno, do you want to add anything?
Absolutely. And Ron, if you provide your email in the chat, I can give you some resources for North Carolina. No worries.
I will do that. I'll go ahead and do that right now.
There you go.
Yeah. I'll let you continue, Crispin. I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. Does anyone else have a question since we paused? All right. Okay. So the website here is our Massachusetts state government website. You just backslash these initials, which is the agency that keeps Corey. And Corey is a Massachusetts name. That's not a name you'll find in any other state. So when you go onto this website, you will be able to register to get a copy of your criminal record, which is the Corey here in Massachusetts. If you are at above low or no income, then they will charge you, I think it's $25 to register. You get a Corey, regardless of whether it's free or costs you $25, you get your Corey. And the important thing is to know, what do they officially have on my record? They link your identity with the charges in the computer. Let's find out. Each of you should want to find out, what exactly do they have? Do you have felonies? Do you have misdemeanors? Where are they? And importantly for sealing, when are they? Because the age of your cases matters. So let's stick with what access you have, because there are different levels of access. So let's say you've registered on iCorey, you're set to get a copy. You're going to be able to see Massachusetts adult, your Massachusetts adult record through the Corey system. You're going to be able to see any open case you have. Open has 2 definitions when it comes to sealing. If I'm due back in Worcester Court next Wednesday, I have a matter that's not closed yet. I have an open case. Pretty obvious. But if I'm on probation up in Lawrence, my case seems over and I'm just having supervision, I still have an open case. In terms of sealing, I still have an open matter if I'm on court-ordered supervision. So We want to be able to have you see your Massachusetts adult open cases. You'll also be able to see any conviction you have in Massachusetts adult court. Anything. If you were alive in 1972 and you have a record, that is visible. There's no time cutoff. You will also be able to see your non-convictions. What the heck is a non-conviction? You might be thinking that's a weird term. Well, when you look at your record and you see convictions, you're going to see a G, a code for guilty, and then a sentence. So you'll see a conviction listed as guilty, 2.5 years in the House of Correction, or 2 years of probation. When you see your non-convictions, you're going to be able to see anything that got dismissed, anything where you got a not guilty, anything which is a quaff, that's a Massachusetts term, CWOF, continued without a finding of guilt. Those are going to be listed just like a nolle pros, if you've heard that term. We have a whole bunch of non-conviction dispositions, and you will see all of the ones you have. I'll let you all know, if your record is like all the other records I've seen over a 40-year career, you're going to have 3/4 of your record filled with non-convictions. So Massachusetts doesn't have a record of convictions. We have a record of court activity. So a dismissal is visible unless you seal it. A not guilty, visible unless you do something about it, which is the reason for this conversation tonight. What don't you see? You don't see any juvenile charges in Massachusetts. Those are separated to protect them. You don't see any out-of-state cases if you have them. You don't see anything of federal court if you have it. And if you seal, your record is blank. It has nothing on it if you seal everything. So that's your level of access to your CORI. When we look ahead to what happens when you have a background check, they're going to run your CORI. They're going to be able to see adult open cases, like if you're on probation right now. But look at the rest of this. It's all different from what you have. They get less information than what you see. When they go to look at convictions, they're given misdemeanor convictions going back 5 years. When they go to look for felonies, they get a look back of 10 years of felonies. And notice those are both convictions. So they're time limited. They look back 5 and 10 years on your convictions. The bottom bullet on this slide, the bottom line, are the top 3, murder, manslaughter, and sex offense convictions. They see those with no time limit. Now, I'm just going to have you go back with me one slide so you can contrast the 2 levels of access to your record. Your level of access, no time restrictions, and you get to see your non-convictions. When we go back to what most employers see when they run a background check in Massachusetts, time-limited window, 5 and 10 years, convictions. They don't see juvenile. They don't see out of state or federal. They don't see sealed cases. That's what most employers see. I'm going to go forward one slide and then take questions. Who can see sealed records? I told you there was an exception. The group that is on the top of this slide is probably the obvious one. Anybody in our criminal legal system can see the whole record. They want to know exactly who they're dealing with, what's the history. They are going to be able to see everything, including sealed. Child protection is one that may or may not surprise you. In order to keep kids safe, when there's a foster parent application, an adoptive parent application, an investigation for child abuse or neglect, Child Protective Services can see the whole record. And I helped somebody years ago seal their whole record, and she called me a month later and said I didn't get my dream job. So of course I had to say, well, who were you applying to because of the levels of access? And she said, I really, really have always wanted to work at this great daycare center. Because it's dealing with children, child protection requires the full background check, including sealed records. So she couldn't work in that daycare center, but of course she might have been able to work almost anywhere else because she sealed her whole record. The last group is the feds. When the federal government is hiring, they have their own background check system. It's called the Triple I. That's an abbreviation for 3 words that begin with I. So Triple I is the nickname we all use. They go to their own database to do a background check for a federal job. So what is in the Triple I? Every arrest from every city and town in the country, all 50 states, all those arrests from every police chief, those all get funneled up to the FBI, and they all sit in the federal III background check system. That might not ever be a worry for any of you if you don't ever need a federal job. You don't want to work at the post office or the airport. But where it does affect some people is federally funded programming, like Section 8 housing. If the federal government is paying for the program, they can require their own background check. So when somebody goes for Section 8 housing, those folks are not doing a Corey check, or at least not only a Corey check, they're also doing a triple I check. They can see anything you've got from any state. Questions so far on how access works, and then we'll talk sealing. I hear crickets. Juno, anybody in the chat? Anybody raising a hand that I can't see?
No questions in the chat.
I'm sorry, Juno. I apologize. Zeno. I'm so sorry.
You're fine, you're fine. No questions in the chat.
Okay, let's move on. Everybody put your seatbelts on. I'm going to give you a lot of info and you're going to follow all of it, but it's going to be a bunch of stuff you may never have heard before. So hang in there. It will make sense. In Massachusetts, we have 2 different ways of sealing. One is called easy sealing. It's incredibly straightforward and easy because it's all done by snail mail. It's free. If you come to one of the free clinics, you'll get a free lawyer. We fill out a petition that gets submitted with your signature for free with probation. Probation is a statewide agency. They're able to seal in the state system. Now, the trick to easy sealing by mail, which is called administrative sealing, is the age of your charges. Doesn't matter how old you are. It matters how old your felonies are and how old your misdemeanors are. And that's going to be on the next slide. Let me continue the overview, which is that there's a backup or second system for sealing if your cases aren't old enough yet for sealing by mail. There is a backup. It's not as good, but our backup system is called discretionary sealing. It's called that because the judge makes the decision. There will be a hearing you need to come to. Good if you have a lawyer with you. And the judge has full discretion. So that means the judge can say, yes, I will seal it, or no, thanks for coming, but I disagree. I'm going to deny your petition. So it's much better to do easy sealing by mail with probation because they are not judges. They have to seal anything that meets the criteria. If your cases aren't old enough for sealing by mail, then we can go to court with you to ask a judge to use discretion to say, yes, please, seal this. But the trick is that a judge only has power in Massachusetts to seal non-convictions. That's why we learned what is a non-conviction a moment ago. So look on your record, probably lots of non-convictions. Look for dismissals, look for not guilties, null pros, a quaff or CWOF. Look for all of those. I'll show you a sample Corey in a minute, and you'll see that you don't have to guess. When you get your own record, it'll be labeled for you as a conviction or a non-conviction. All right, let's jump into how you qualify for both of these. The first thing is to look on your record when you get it and see if you have anything listed as open. If you're due back in Roxbury next Wednesday or Springfield court next week, you got an open case. We can't help you yet. Everything has to be closed before we can help you seal. Let's pretend that your record has everything closed. You're not on probation. Everything's been closed out. You then look to see how old are your cases. And I'll show you how you find the date I'm talking about. You're going to either need the disposition date. That's when the case was pronounced over by the judge in the courtroom. Not the end of probation. The date the judge gave you your sentence. That's the disposition date. If it's dismissed, that's the end of the case. If it's guilty 2 years of probation, the day the guilty was imposed, the day you pled out, that is the disposition date. We use that date or the release date if you were put in jail. The release date, you will not be surprised to remember, is always much later than the disposition date. So let's talk about what exactly the age requirement is here. If you look on your Corey and you see you have misdemeanors, they're going to be eligible for easy sealing 3 years after the disposition or the release. If they're 10 years old, obviously they're more than 3, so it works. If you have a felony, it's going to be 7 years or older after the disposition date or the release date. Some of you may get your record and realize that nothing is old enough for easy sealing, in which case you have a choice. You can wait till they are old enough and seal by mail. Or you can look and see if you have non-convictions and come to a free clinic and we'll talk to you about going to court with you. All right, I'm going to give you a math problem right now. Everybody don't be shy. I can see Ron, I know he's good to go, but hopefully the other folks with us today will help chime in. This is an easy problem to solve. Let's say your best friend has an adult misdemeanor in Massachusetts. And let's say the date the case was over in front of the judge, April Fool's Day 2020. The sentence is guilty, probation for 2 years. So there's no jail. You don't have to go look for a release date. There's no jail here. Probation, supervision in the community. So we use the disposition date and we add the misdemeanor waiting period. I'll call on Ron because I can see you. Do you know when this case is eligible to be sealed for your best friend?
If it's guilty probation, but it's still a misdemeanor, it's still the 7 years. Is that correct?
Almost. You want to go back to this slide and it's 3 for misdemeanors.
Oh, okay. I think I was looking on the first or second slide when I was confused with the 10 years. There was a 10-year for felony
Yeah.
last time.
Thank you for letting me know about your confusion because that's somewhat common. When we talked about 7 or 10 or whatever those years were earlier, it was 5 and 10. That's who can see what. So that's access to the Corey.
That's access to the quarry, not the actual dates for the
This
year.
this is sealing, and they are
Okay.
frustratingly they are different timeframes.
This
So
is specific to Massachusetts, though, correct? Is it?
that's correct. Your state may have something
My
different.
state, my state is a lot different. I do know some about my state, but that's why I'm learning something outside of the state. So this is good anyway. So I'm just learning.
The federal stuff certainly is true because
Yeah.
it's federal, so it's everywhere. So we have a 3-year misdemeanor waiting period. We look at the disposition date. All you do is the simple math. You can even count on your fingers if you need to. Tell me when this case can be sealed. Anyone? Beth Nishali, if I got that name right? How about Zeno?
2027.
It's a misdemeanor, so
Oh,
it's
2023. Sorry about that.
very good. Perfect. Now, can I come in January of 2023?
Wouldn't it be the full 3 years? So it would be April.
So that question was to evoke your realizing it's the month and the day and the year that matter. It's clearly a 3-year ad because it's a misdemeanor. So it's April 1 of 2023. If it were a felony, what's the answer? We add 7 in Massachusetts, eligible to be sealed April 1 of 2020. Now, excuse me, 2027, my fault, getting ahead of myself. 27. Now, if you're the client coming to see me as the lawyer, you don't want to hear me tell you 2027. So our backup is to look and see whether you have non-convictions that can go to court now. There are no waiting periods to go to court, but we have to convince a judge. So it's a bit of a toss ball there. Just to finish this off, this has no jail. What if it were guilty 2 years of jail? If it was that, then we can't use the disposition date. We have to use the release date and then add 3 or 7. Frustratingly, always later. Questions so far on that? You don't have to master this, master it. I'm just hoping to give you a flavor of how it works. Joel, any questions? Okay, everybody's way too quiet tonight. All right, court sealing, non-convictions only. If you have a conviction, the only way to seal it is by mail when the waiting periods matter. For court, you can go right away if you want. No waiting period. You don't have to add 3 or 7 on a non-conviction. You weren't convicted, so how can we penalize you by making you wait? The trick, though, is with a weird name like mine, the judge is going to remember I was just there last week. And they're probably going to deny, because they can, if they don't have a period of time where they see demonstrated law-abiding behavior. That is what they're looking for. They want to see some distance between the criminal behavior and your petition. All right. Here's a sample Corey. This is unique to Massachusetts. Let me try to make it a little bigger. You'll see if you get yours that there is the state seal on the top right, and then a bunch of biographical fields of information unique to you. This person's Corey is different than yours. It's neither good nor bad. It's just what this person's history is here in Massachusetts. So look for the first thing, which is the gray horizontal bar. This will be on any Corey. It tells us how many cases, not charges, because you could have a case with 5 charges on it. It tells us how many cases, and each case is separated by another gray bar. So you'll see 1 of 40 here, whoops, here, and then 2 of 40 on down the report. Let's just look at the very first charge. You want to see on the right that every one of your cases are closed. If anything is open, we can't help you with sealing yet, but once everything closes, you're welcome to come see us. It's given to you, no guesswork. This is a closed felony, unarmed robbery out of Chelsea. Non-conviction is how it ended. So that means there's no guilty. And it also means there's no jail here. We can't jail anyone in this country unless they are convicted. So when we think about sealing, we are not looking for a release date. There is no jail on a non-conviction. The disposition here is NP. It stands for a Latin term. Please forgive me, I do not speak Latin. Noli prosequi or nol pros or NP is how this case ended. So when you get your own record, look at this court disposition line. And you're going to say to me, well, I know it ended with a nol pros, but when? Because I have to add 3 or 7. So when do I add the math, or do the math? And the date to the left of your disposition is always the disposition date. The nol pros was entered in court on the date to the left. If this said dismissal, the date to the left is when the dismissal happened. If it said not guilty, the date to the left is when that occurred. So we now have our disposition date. What do? We add the felony waiting period. Do y'all remember how much that is? 7 years. We take November 5, 2019 plus 7, do it in your head, 2026. And you remember the month matters. So if you wandered into a clinic in January of 26, if this was your record, can't help you. We have to wait the full 7. So this person needs to come see us November 5 or thereabouts of 2026. Now let's pretend for a moment. I mean, in fact, you don't have to pretend. Now we know this case is not old enough for easy sealing. Those waiting periods matter to seal by mail. Case has to be old enough. It is not old enough by a year. But look at the good news. It's listed as a non-conviction. That means the client here has a choice. The client can wait a year, seal by mail. If the client doesn't want to wait, they can come to a free clinic. It's a non-conviction. We would go to Chelsea Court together, have to go to the court where the non-conviction is, and we would do our best to advocate for you, go to the mat for you in our presentation, hopefully convince the judge to seal this case. Any questions so far? I have a second Corey to show you, but any questions so far? Joel, Beth, Ron, everybody's good? Hopefully this is somewhat clear.
I have no questions at the moment. Just following along with you right now.
Okay. So let's look at a second example of a record. And I'd like you to tell me immediately how you know this is a very different record. It's neither good nor bad, it's just different. Look at the first gray horizontal bar. You remember the last one was 1 of 40. This is 1 of 2. It's a shorter record, neither good nor bad. It's just what this person has. First thing to do, now that we know there are 2 cases, look at the status. The first charge, closed. Second charge on this same docket number, closed. Excellent. Let's pretend everything's closed. Let's now look at what happened in the disposition. We see this is a felony, larceny over, which is the felony larceny here. Middlesex Superior Court, conviction. Now, your antenna should be up because there might be jail. It's a conviction. There might be probation. There might be dismissed. Look for the G if it's a conviction right here. I'm trying to point to it here. What does that mean in a criminal case? Disposition? Guilty. That G is the symbol for guilty. So now you know you're at disposition. This case is over on the date to the left of the G. The guilty was probably a plea, I'm guessing. This person pled out January 10, 2014, the date to the left of the G. But can we use the disposition date? We cannot, because if you read what's after the G, you get the sentence. The judge imposed guilty, 18 months committed. This person went to jail, got out probably less than 18 months, but we don't have a release date unless we ask the client. So let's pretend we have no idea when the person was released. We can do a guesstimated math problem here. Let's say there was a year and a half. Every day was served. When did this 18 months begin? The date of the plea. So it's January of 2014 plus a year and a half. The release date that is the most conservative. We're not even accounting for good time, early release, or anything. Let's say it's July of 2015 when this guy or this person, I don't know if it's a woman or a man, when this person got released. We add the felony waiting period. We add 7 to July of 2015. We get to 2022. It's passed, right? So we're within eligibility to seal by mail, the easy way. And I wanted to show you this example because here we have a felony, the longest of the 2 waiting periods. We have a conviction. We have jail even, a committed sentence, and it is still old enough to seal the easy way. So when you look at your record, don't lose faith. Make sure everything's closed. See if you can figure out how old stuff is from my little tutorial here. And if you want, come to one of the free clinics and we'll help you take it all the way to what your options are. But this is an example where there was even a felony jail sentence and it's still old enough. Any questions on that? That's how you read a Massachusetts record. And again, I'm giving you a very short overview. All right. I'm assuming there's nothing in the chat or you'd be flagging me down, Zeno. So I will keep going. Let's talk now about why you're even wanting to hear about sealing. The first benefit to you is that sealing, you already learned, hides the information. No one can see a sealed case in a Massachusetts record except the criminal legal folks like police, judges, prosecutors, child protection, which may never interfere with your lives, or the federal government. And again, many people don't even want those jobs. Doesn't matter to you that they can see your cases. That's the first benefit. It hides the information. The second benefit, in Massachusetts, we have a state law that allows you to say, I have no record if you seal everything. Make sure you use this wisely. If you're applying for a job and it asks you about your background, if you had 5 things on your record in Massachusetts and you sealed 4 of them, 1 thing is still visible. So don't say I have no record unless you seal everything. Remember, law enforcement can always see the whole record. If they stop you at midnight, I don't need to tell you to be safe out there. Don't tell the police officer I have no record, because they've got a computer in the cruiser and they're already looking you up and seeing everything, and they don't want any lip or whatever words they might use if that's your response to them. So be aware when you should say this and when you shouldn't say it. The police can always see everything. Employers cannot see sealed. If you seal everything, you can say, I have no record. Expungement. This is so different from sealing. So let me just explain. Expungement is permanent destruction off of your record of all of the information. Expungement in Massachusetts is only about 8 years old, 7 years old. We used to only have sealing. In New Hampshire, they don't do sealing, they call it something else. In North Carolina, they may use different words yet again. But in Massachusetts, sealing keeps the information in our computer, but hides access to it, sort of like putting a huge blanket over it. It's got to be there so the police can see it, but nobody else, right? Expungement destroys it. It's permanently removed from the computer, from the clerk's office. No one can find it. So why didn't she tell us about expungement first? It sounds so much better. And the answer is expungement was created 7 years ago in a very narrow fashion. It was the first time they created it. They gave us a very hard set of criteria to meet. I will tell you what expungement is here, but just don't be frustrated if it doesn't fit you. If you listen to the overview, it may fit your cousin. It may fit someone you know. So I'll give you the info, but it's a little frustrating. So with expungement, there's 2 ways to proceed. The first one we call juvenile expungement, just as a nickname. If somebody was under 21 at the time the crime happened, doesn't matter whether you're 60 now. If the person was under 21 when they allegedly committed the crime, and they have no more than a maximum of 2 criminal cases anywhere, most of my clients immediately are excluded from the criteria right there. They're too old or they have way too many cases. But let's pretend that your record fits the bill here. Under 21 at the time of your crime, no more than a total of 2 cases anywhere. The cases you're trying to expunge have to be very low level. So An example, maybe trespassing, trespass perhaps, maybe tagging, which is our fancy name for graffiti. Those are not going to be in the serious excluded category. Again, most of my clients are way out of the ballpark here. So let me tell you about the second kind of expungement. This fits more people. So tiny little silver lining here. If there's a gross error in your case, you might have an argument to expunge. If you were home making dinner for your son and somebody used your identity down at, the local store or whatever and committed a crime, you shouldn't have to seal if it wasn't you. You're completely innocent, right? So you shouldn't be tagged, but sealed. You should be able to expunge because it was not you who committed that behavior. So if there's a gross miscarriage of justice, come see us in one of the clinics. The other circumstance where we help people with expungement is if you have a crime on your record, but it's no longer a crime. The most famous one here is possession of marijuana. Not every state has legalized possession. But if you see that on your record, please come to a clinic. We can get that possession marijuana case expunged for you if you wish us to. You can also seal it. You don't have to expunge it. But we're very successful now getting marijuana possession off of records permanently. And that matters sometimes for people who are looking for subsidized housing. Subsidized housing landlords are very worried about liability, insurance policies that they carry that are expensive. So they look at a record, no matter how the charge ended, to see if there's drugs or sex offenses. Those are two of the big red flags for them. So even a low-level possession of a half of a joint that ended in a dismissal, that's on the Corey unless it's sealed or expunged. So we're happy to see you if you have a straight possession. By that, I mean it's not possession with intent to distribute. That's still a crime. It's not trafficking in marijuana, still a crime. It has to be straight possession. Any questions? I think we're almost done. I have one more slide, I believe.
I have a question. Yep.
Sure,
So
please.
you talked about like expungement and how early in the process we are 7 years ago. Is there any pending legislative efforts to expand expungement in Massachusetts? Is there anything like down the pipeline to where like we can expand it a little bit?
I love the question because I'm part of an advocate group where we have filed bill after bill in our legislature to expand not just expungement, but also make it easier for anyone with a record to pursue these remedies. What's hard about these remedies I just explained is you have to know about them. Some people don't ever come to a program like this and they don't know they can seal. Some people never find their way to a free clinic because they don't know we're out there, or they have a job where they can't get time off. They can't get time off to go to court, even if court sealing was an option. So it's a pretty difficult process as it currently sits. It's not user friendly. So the answer is yes. There are a number of bills pending right now. If you want more information, I will have Zeno put my email in the chat. You can copy that and we can talk about legislation. Just be aware that the legislative session here in Massachusetts runs for 2 years. So bills that were just filed in January of 2025 don't sort of end until the full 2 years are up. If something doesn't get passed, then it dies and we have to refile it 2 years later, which is January of 27. And then we try again. So we're working on it. We're trying to protect everybody with a record. If you come to a clinic, it's case by case help or assistance. If we can pass a law, then it will apply to a broader group of people, which is our goal. Any other questions? Thanks for that one. Joel,
Absolutely.
Beth?
I guess a short follow-up really quick. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sure.
Is there anything like that organizations can do to work with, your organization or a state agency to kind of help expand that and help, with that, push to
Yeah.
expand?
So I don't know if you want to write this in the chat, but if somebody were to Google Clean Slate, Massachusetts, Clean Slate, SLATE, Clean Slate, Massachusetts, gets you a whole bunch of information on the current legislation we're trying to get passed. Now, letting you know, Clean Slate is automatic sealing. You don't have to file a petition. You don't have to find a lawyer. You don't have to go to court. If the computer sees that your record is eligible, the computer seals it. So it's an improvement for most people. And that is Clean Slate. It's automatic sealing. If we pass it in Massachusetts, we would be the 14th state in the nation to pass automatic sealing. I don't know if North Carolina is one of them. I don't think so. But you can look up Clean Slate USA and you'll probably get the list of states that have passed it.
Wow, that's amazing. And I put the website and your email in the chat so
Oh,
people.
good. Great. Any questions before we wrap up? I do want to give you the free resources, but any questions on the substantive stuff so far? I hope you're clear, but if you're confused, please, now's the time. Ask me anything about Corey. Have to limit that.
Crispin, I don't have any questions, but I'd like to go ahead and speak on behalf of myself and also everyone in attendance. I know there's a lot of people in here. This is kind of an uncomfortable, awkward situation for most people. It's not like this is something that we all want to be doing at our evenings, especially when we're doing things with family or in our own lives. But I want to go ahead and thank you very much for giving your time and
Thank
energy to do this for people. I want you to thank you too, Zena. What you guys are doing is a service and it's a blessing. And I really appreciate this. I was just telling Zeno in a private chat that I'd love to be an advocate for others and try to help others and do some
you.
kind of outreach, even in my area. Like I said, I came across this particular program online,
Yeah.
and I saw the title and I was interested because I wanted to learn more. I'm going
You've
through
been,
it myself. I'm going through this process. I'm coming up on a 10-year period for myself and looking to
yeah.
do some paperwork and get things behind me. But I want to encourage all of you in the chat that you are not your past. You are not with your mistakes. These are all things that we can push forward and get through. And there are people that are out there that are good that want to see you move forward. So keep your head up, keep the faith,
Yeah.
and you guys will get through this. So, and again, Crispin, Zero, Zena, thank you guys so much for your time. I just wanted to say that 2 cents before you guys wrap up.
I
And thank you.
appreciate how community minded your comments are, and I think everybody's grateful to have that optimistic viewpoint. There is something we can do about our records. We just have to know how it works, and that's the point of the
Correct.
program. Now, for
Yeah,
people in Massachusetts, if you want to speak to me more privately than this setup allows, certainly take my email and we can talk on the email about how your record stands up and where the clinics are that are closest to you. So that brings me to our last slide, I think. These are free Massachusetts resources. There's likely to be something similar in any state where there's an advocate community connected to the public defender's office or some other organization that gives people help with their sealing or expungement, whatever your state calls the remedy. But here in Massachusetts, there are several free clinics. So let me just explain, because I know you're all going to go, it says Boston. Doesn't she know that we're out west towards Springfield? So what the heck? So I'm aware of this issue. So let me just explain. There's something called Lawyers Clearinghouse. That's that first website. Looks like an amazingly long set of letters. It's just 2 words. Lawyers Clearinghouse does a free online Corey clinic. It's twice a month. You can join from anywhere. You don't have to come to Boston. You don't have to be in Springfield per se. You can be anywhere where you have an online connection and join the clinic on Zoom. Now, you do have to register just because we have a little bit of a waiting list, but Lawyers Clearinghouse will see anyone with a Massachusetts record. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter if your record is 40 pages long. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. It matters that you want to do something about your Massachusetts record. We would love to assign a free lawyer to you. That person will work with you on how to read your record, give you your legal options. You may have more than one choice. And then that is your lawyer if you want to proceed and you're eligible to proceed. If you're not yet ready, if your record isn't old enough, the lawyer will explain exactly when you should contact the clinic in the future, come back, and we'll be able to help you then. Sort of like that 2027 example we used earlier. Might be a short wait, it might be a long wait, but we'll tell you all your options so you're fully informed. It's your choice. The lawyer you get has no right to tell you what to do, so they set up your choices and you can decide. Now, the next clinic here is Greater Boston Legal Services, and I only put it up here because I do lots of training in Boston, so I apologize to you Western Mass folks. There is legal aid all throughout the Commonwealth. So out west, you all know that Community Legal Aid or Community Legal Services is the office you want to call. They have several offices, Worcester, Springfield, and beyond, all Worcester and West in Massachusetts. So call Community Legal Aid, and they have a great set of Corey lawyers. They will work for free if you're at low or no income. If you make more than that, definitely contact Lawyers Clearinghouse. Lawyers Clearinghouse will see anyone with a mass record. We don't care what your income is. Now, the third option, statewide as well, is Veterans Legal Services. If you or someone you know has a military connection, present or past, Veterans Legal Services is an awesome organization. They do a lot for veterans, like benefits issues, advocacy on discharge upgrades, anything like that. Those are all civil matters, and they will help a veteran for free if the veteran is at low or no income. But they also do Corey work, and they enlist me in doing that. So I help lots of veterans who have a record and want to talk about their options. Those are the three Corey choices here for free lawyers. The bottom two are not for Corey, but I'd like you to just know you have these resources. The Massachusetts Bar Association is the statewide group of lawyers. Every state has one. Our Bar Association has put up a hotline number right here on the second from the bottom on this slide. Anyone who can't afford a lawyer can call them as long as it's for a civil matter. So an example would be, I'm working, but I'm not sure if they're about to fire me. I would really like the help of an employment lawyer. Just call the hotline. Maybe I'm living in an apartment, but all of a sudden I have no hot water and no heat. Not sure what's going on, but the landlord won't answer my phone calls. Call the hotline. Maybe they have a housing attorney to assist you. So anything that's not criminal is going to be that hotline number right here, second from the bottom, as long as you're in Massachusetts and you can't afford your own lawyer. The last resource, also free, is our Commission Against Discrimination. You do not need a lawyer to call them. If you ever are the victim of discrimination in Massachusetts, please let them know, and they will investigate it and try to stop those bad practices, whether it's an employer or a landlord. The commission can't stop discrimination in Massachusetts unless we let them know where it's happening. So be brave, call them, report what you're experiencing, and they will investigate it for free for you. That's my presentation. I am thrilled to be able to share this information with you, and I'm happy to hang around for questions. You can unmute yourselves if you have a question, and the slides should be given to you after we finish today. Anybody want to be brave and just unmute and ask a question? Don't have to show your face if you don't want to. You're welcome, Beth. Thank you for the kind words. Now's the time. Don't be shy. Any questions? I hope you all find your way out from under your records. My best wishes to all of you. Zeno?
I was just going to ask a quick question. If anybody here wanted to be trained to be able to give the information to anyone else, are there ways to go about that?
I'd love to say, sure, go ahead, but the information is somewhat dense, and so I just would like to have confidence that it's being shared accurately. As you know, as an attorney, I'm never going to say anything that isn't up to the minute, current, accurate state of the law. So I actually would ask people to invite me to come speak at your group if you want. I do these trainings all over the Commonwealth. That's what I do. So if I'm not working in a clinic, I'm training. If I'm not training, I'm working in a clinic. So feel free to call on me if you need a training.
Thank you,
Crispin,
Chris.
I know you have a lot of outreach within Massachusetts and especially within your firm that you work with. Don't know if you have any other contacts in any other states or anybody that you could reach in North Carolina specifically, or do you have anybody that might be a good reference that I could speak
I
with on not just with helping out with my particular case, but also in the sense of
giving
um,
back.
what Zeno was talking about as far as giving back and doing that kind of thing. Because I'd love to be able to have an attorney like yourself, kind of more or less. I'd like to kind of be what Zeno's kind of doing right now. At some point, I think it's a really this whole thing is a really good program. So
Thank you. Zeno's amazing, and he is the one behind tonight, so we owe him a lot of credit. So my answer would be that I don't know anything about the laws on this topic in North Carolina, but I would Google, how do I seal my record? How do I get my record in North Carolina? And it might pop up the groups that offer free service or low paying or low rate service, low dollars. And that might be your way into just cold calling one of the organizations and asking if you can join them, sit in on a meeting, whatever. If you have nothing that pops up, which I doubt, then you could try your local public defender's office. They, of course, are in court defending people in the case, but once the case is over, the public defenders likely know who does that post conviction relief. So the defenders are in court while the case is going on, and their role usually stops because that's the mandate. They get paid for defending someone in an open case. Once the case is over, the public defenders have to know who does the legal work to help people seal or expunge, whatever your state calls it.
thank you.
Yeah, I love your approach. It's very community minded. You might have a pastor for a dad or something, but
I don't. That's just who I'm just
I have
kind
a
of
feeling that if you can't attach to a group, you'll start one. So I'm happy to know that people in North Carolina will find your ministry, even informally.
well, we'll see.
Yeah, is it Dawn? And I'm going to not try to pronounce the other name. I don't want to ruin it. So anyone else have a question for Zeno or myself? You can take the email and contact me later if you need privacy. Otherwise, everyone get a copy of your record, see what's on it, and then remember the rules or come to a clinic and we'll help you from there.
Thank you so much, Crispin. You did an amazing job. And I'm definitely going to share the resources with everyone who was here today and promote future activities. Hopefully we can have you come back and do another presentation. We get another group in the door and we can share the information, spread the love, right?
Thank you. Yeah, if you try it again 6 to 12 months from now, maybe word will spread and you can get a big group, and I'm happy to join you.
Absolutely. And all the resources you shared from the questions asked earlier, we're going to take a look at that and see how we can help as an organization as well. And to kind of wrap up here, just thank you all for being here. Tristan, you did an amazing job again. It's just, these type of programs don't come out just in the thin air, right? They come from people doing the hard work and in the communities like you are. So I appreciate you coming out and being available and making yourself available for these type of things.
Well, everybody should know Zeno's in law school. He's going to get out in a year and he might be able to help anyone in possibly the Springfield area. I'm not sure where you're going to practice, but we love having you join our community.
Thank you so much. As a quick note, as we sign out, I just want to say, putting in the chat our communications and our links. So please follow us, keep up with the things that we have coming up. We have future webinars like this one. The next one is housing, and that one, or the next one actually will be Bridging Borders, a conversation on global citizenship and impact. That will be in January. Then we have an housing one, actually from one of the resources you mentioned earlier, MCAD, Massachusetts Commission on Discrimination Against Discrimination. They'll be talking about housing. We had one a couple months ago about employment, so they've been a great partner. And then we have a whole rollout of new presentations coming up, touching across states and across the nation. So please be on the lookout for those. Follow us on social media at the Just Us movement. We have a lot of great things coming up in 2026.
Cool.
Um, and I would like to open it up really quickly for Crispin if you had any upcoming presentations. I know you mentioned it earlier, but if you
Yes, I have another online free program, but it's geared towards staff rather than people with records. So it's a little bit more in depth, and it's online, and it's coming up December 12, which is a Friday. And I'm doing it from 10 to 11:30 specifically for staff. So by staff, I'm thinking of nonprofit people, folks who have a caseload. They see people as a coach or an advocate, social worker, clinician, anybody who has direct contact with a caseload of folks. You're likely to have at least one or many more people with a record on your caseload. So I love to train nonprofit staff how to talk about this if they don't know, how to help someone understand the system and understand there's something they can do about their record. They don't just have to take no for an answer on a job, on an apartment for the rest of their lives. There's something they can actively do to help themselves.
thank you so much for sharing that, and I will be in attendance for that one. So
Good.
thank you again. And with that, I would love to close out our November webinar. It was a great one. Resources will be shared after this meeting. And from here, I would just like to thank you all and wish you all a good night and be safe out there. It's getting dark really fast now.
And
Daylight
cold.
savings. And cold, and cold. So be
Yeah.
safe out there, stay warm, and have a great night. Okay.
All right. Happy holiday, everybody.
Happy holidays. Yes.
Holiday. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you.
No
You
problem.
too. Good luck to all that you're doing, Ron. Bye.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kristen. Bye, guys. Thank you.